Hi everyone, and welcome to Nutmeg Notebook. I'm Tami, and I am the creator of the blog and this YouTube channel called Nutmeg Notebook, where I share all about our whole food, plant-based lifestyle. So today I'm super excited to share with you about the things that I learned that helped me lose weight and maintain my weight loss since 2015. That's my husband, Tom.
Oh.
He went on and off. He's just
doing my sound checks.
He's helping get everything set up here last minute. So I went plant-based in 2013 and was doing great until I became hypothyroid. And even after I went on medication, levothyroxine for that, I was having difficulty, even though I was using a whole food plant-based diet, I was having difficulty losing the weight that I gained when my thyroid was malfunctioning. And then I met Chef AJ, and all of that changed because she taught me all about the pleasure trap and calorie density and how to sequence my meals so that I could actually eat like twice as much food for half the amount of calories. And that's how I ended up being able to get back to a healthy weight that I have maintained since 2015. So I have a history of yo-yo dieting for my entire adult life. I do want to show you a couple of my before pictures. So this is what I looked like at my highest weight. I weighed about 174, 75 pounds then, and that I was not a happy camper because I'm a bit of a perfectionist. And so I really did not enjoy the fact that I could not control my weight. And my appetite just felt like it was completely out of control. I could not eat a lot of things in moderation and, you know, like sweets and high-fat foods. And I would eat those things, and then that would just like be a huge trigger for me to want to binge on them, which I did because, you know, I was obviously eating a lot of calories to get to this size. So I am much happier being the size I am today. And I ended up losing 49 pounds. So I'm first going to talk to you all about calorie density. And how many of you have Chef AJ's book, The Secrets to Ultimate Weight Loss? In her book, she talks all about calorie density, and she explains to you what it is and how to use it to your advantage. So I'm going to be talking a lot about the calorie density chart. You may want to get a pen and paper because you might want to take notes. If you have her book, you might want to pull it out and look at the calorie density chart, or you can Google calorie density chart online and you can find one. And even hers can be found like on Pinterest. So just so you can kind of follow along. And then we did print one that I can show you on camera that would be bigger. Here we go. This is the calorie density chart. I wanted Tom to be able to put one in the show notes, but it doesn't allow you to put pictures in the show notes. So her book, I highly recommend if you're struggling to lose weight or maintain your weight, or you just have those last 5 or 10 pounds to lose. This is a great resource. Her entire program is outlined in the book, and it's fantastic. Also, she introduced me to Dr. Doug Lisle, and this book, The Pleasure Trap. Oh my gosh, if I had known this stuff, you guys, when I was 17, it would have saved me over 40 years of yo-yo dieting. So The Pleasure Trap, I highly recommend. It's an awesome book. Tom has linked to the book for our Amazon store down below in the show notes. So these two books are my little kitchen Bibles. And also Dr. McDougall, in his Maximum Weight Loss Program book, he also talks about calorie density in this. And it's also the principles that they teach at the True North Health Center in Santa Rosa. And a number of the plant-based doctors recommend following calorie density. So I hope you guys are ready to learn about this. So calorie density is it's science-based. So this is not like a fad diet type thing. And Dr. Barbara Rolls is credited to really bringing it to the forefront. She is a scientific researcher and doctor from Penn State, and she has a laboratory at Penn State that's like, it's like a kitchen laboratory where they study eating habits of human beings, which is pretty fantastic. So she discovered that everyone eats approximately between 3 and 5 pounds of food every day on average. So one day you might eat a little more, one day you might eat a little less, but on average we eat the same amount of food. Now that varies from person to person. Now I know when I post my food on Instagram, what I eat in a day, either on Instagram or on my Facebook page, you know, some people will say, oh, I could never eat that amount of food. That's okay, because the amount of food that I need is going to be different than the amount of food that you need. And the amount of food that I eat versus the amount of food that Tom eats is different. You know, he's a man, he has a higher metabolism, always has, than I do, and he eats more food in a day than I do. But I eat a pretty fair amount. I would say that I probably eat about 3 to 4 pounds of food depending on the day, because my lunch salad is that big 1 pound of salad, and after I chop it, I add a ton more things to it, and so it ends up weighing about 2.5 pounds, because we did weigh him one time just to find out. And then I have my dinner, which I'm sure is like another pound of food. So, and that is about what I eat per day. And some days a little more, some days a little less. So what Dr. Rolls found out is that people eat the same amount of pounds of food on average per day, regardless of the calorie count. So isn't that interesting? So calorie density is merely the amount of calories for a set amount of food. So today I'm going to be talking to you about calorie density for 1 pound of food. And we're going to talk about different food groups and what their calorie density is. So Dr. Rolls also discovered that the feeling of fullness that we call satiety is not simply based on calorie content, which, you know, people used to say a calorie is a calorie is a calorie. Well, guess what? When it comes to weight loss and feeling full, that is not true. It's also based on the volume and the weight of food and how much room it takes up in our stomach. So that's where calorie density is going to start coming into play. And she also discovered that when you have water combined with the food, that it makes it more filling. You get more satiety from it. Now that doesn't mean that you can take, you know, a bunch of air fried food and then drink water with it. It doesn't work that way. It has to, the food and the water have to be combined, either in a broth-based soup or in the form of fresh fruits and vegetables will also help. It allows you to eat more food for less calories, which is really great if you're a volume eater like I am. Now, food varies in caloric density from 100 calories all the way up to 4,000 calories. So there's a 40-fold difference. So what we choose to eat for that 3 to 5 pounds of food we want to eat every day has a huge impact on our ability to either lose weight or maintain our weight loss. Okay, so once you understand this, you guys are going to see that you can eat a lot more food for weight loss than you probably ever have before. So the first category on the calorie density food chart is 100 calories per pound, and that is for non-starchy vegetables. And so that is going to be like this bowl of beautiful vegetables that I have here. So, and this is the non-starchy vegetables. So you can Google non-starchy vegetables and you can see that there will be literally hundreds of vegetables that you can choose from. And this will be the lowest calorie density food that we can eat. And these are full of water, and they're also full of fiber. And one of the things that Barbara Rold's team discovered is that we get more satisfaction from food that we have to chew. And of course, because this is so full of fiber and has tons of water, it takes a lot of time to chew this. And so just the act of chewing will slow down how fast you can consume your calories. That in itself helps with you eating less, and you get a lot of satisfaction just from the act of chewing. Plus, we know from different studies that it takes about 20 minutes from the time you start eating before your brain says, oh my gosh, maybe we're full. And so this helps because it's going to really help you slow down. Now, there are certain things that botanically are actually fruits, but they oftentimes will show up on the non-starchy vegetable charts. And that's going to be things like tomatoes and cucumbers, eggplant, okra, bell peppers, and zucchini. Now, those actually have about 67 calories per pound, but we're doing averages. So because, some other things are higher, a little bit higher calories. So we're just doing an average. Non-starchy vegetables, 100 calories per pound. Then the next category is fruit, and that is the 300 calorie per pound. Now here again, there's some variation in the calories per pound of fruit because those botanical fruits that I just talked about are 67 calories per pound. Berries are also lower calorie density than something like pineapple or bananas. The tropical fruits are sweeter and they have more calories per pound, but we're just doing an average. And so, because we're not going to get hung up on every little fruit or every little vegetable, we are just going to learn about the categories. And so for fruit, we're going to say on average, they're about 300 calories per pound. They offer natural sweetness. So if you have a sweet tooth, then let your dessert be fruit because it's naturally sweet. It's full of fiber. It's full of water. So the absorption of the glucose into your bloodstream is really slowed down because of the fiber and the water. And so you won't have that big sugar rush that you would from eating a brownie, let's say. And it's very satisfying and it's very filling. Now, if you're just coming to a whole food plant-based diet from the standard American diet and you're used to eating a lot of high calorie density foods and a lot of processed sugar and high fat desserts, is the fruit going to satisfy you initially? Probably not, because you have to give yourself some time to neuroadapt, and then you'll get to the point where sometimes even pineapple will be too sweet. I know you're laughing, you don't think that's possible, but it really does happen. We are moving to the 400 to 600 calorie per pound category. And this is going to be our unrefined complex carbohydrate. And this is what Dr. McDougall calls our starch. So a whole food plant-based diet is great. Fruits and vegetables are fantastic, but they are so low calorie density that they are not going to stick with you for hours and hours and keep you full. So you have to include starch. Starch and unrefined carbohydrates have gotten a bad rap, but that's not because of what they are to begin with. It's because of what people put on them. So, potatoes are the most eaten food that Americans eat as far as vegetables go, but they don't eat them in a healthy way. They eat them deep fat fried as French fries. And so it's not that the potato is bad, but all that oil that they're fried in is bad. Or they're slathering butter and sour cream and cheese and bacon bits on them. That makes them bad. So we need to have the starch because the starch is what gives us energy and it's what gives us satiety. It's what's going to hold us to the next meal. So you need to have a little bit of starch at every meal or a whole lot of starch if that's what you prefer, and it will fill you up. I was so excited in 2015, that first week, because I got to have potatoes. And I almost cried the first time I sat down with a big old potato stuffed with beans, corn, salsa, and fresh cilantro, because it was so satisfying. I actually got to have like this huge meal that was so filling. And I love starch. I love potatoes. We just need to do it in an unrefined way. So the categories within that, because I was saying it's a 400 to 600 calorie range. So, and we're just, again, we're just learning about food groups. We're not all the little individual, exactly how much is everything. Okay, so at 500 calories per pound, we have the whole grains. So that's going to be things like, these are oat groats. And you know, I have a video all about how to make oat groats. This is what oatmeal comes from, is oat groats. And to make the rolled oats, you know, they take and steam these and cut them and roll them out. But this is the whole oat groat. And I just made a pot of these today. I absolutely love them. I like them more than brown rice even, but you know, whatever you choose. It could be quinoa, which is technically a seed, but everybody puts it in the starch category. Or it could be millet. Or I'm gluten-free, but if you do gluten, you know, it could be barley. It could be, you know, all different kinds of grains, whatever you like. And the less refined they are, the more whole they are, the better for you, because they're more filling. You know, brown rice versus white rice. Brown rice has a little more fiber. It's a little more filling. But, you know, if you like white rice, don't feel bad about eating white rice. Okay, in the 600 calories per pound are going to be legumes. So all kinds of legumes. So it can be split peas, it can be lentils, it can be beans, whatever you like. These are super filling. And here's the thing about these. We cook them in water, right? And so they soak up the water and they expand. And so then they become even more filling because they have a lot of water. You put them in a soup, in a broth-based soup with some vegetables, and you reduce the calorie density of your meal even greater. And it's so satisfying. I don't know about you guys, but I love soup. And we eat soups all summer long, because I still love some chili over a baked potato or some lentil soup. I love Indian food, and I'll eat those hot dishes all summer long. And then of course, winter squash. That's a wonderful, this is my favorite. That's a wonderful starch to have. This is a kabocha squash, and it's totally amazing. Butternut squash, Hubbard, whatever you have that you can get. Sweet potatoes. We love our sweet potatoes. I eat a Japanese sweet potato every day. These we just bought, and I didn't even have time to wash them. Look how filthy they are. But these are so delicious. Tom's laughing at me. And they're so satisfying. So include a wide variety of starches in your diet, because they're very satisfying, very filling. Take your 1 pound of salad, or however much you make, or your steamed vegetables, and add a little bit of starch to it, whether it's in the form of some squash, some potatoes, a grain, or some legumes. So all of these foods here are in the 600 calorie and under categories on the calorie density chart. And if you look at Chef AJ's calorie density chart, she has drawn a red line there. And what she says is, eat to your heart's desire to the left of the red line of all of these foods. And if you keep your calories to 600 calories per pound or less, you should be able to eat ad libitum, which means you just eat until you feel satisfied. Eat to satiation, not like Thanksgiving dinner where you're stuffed. You just eat until you are comfortably full, and you should be able to lose weight. And once you get to your healthy weight, you should be able to maintain that weight eating these foods. Now we're going to talk about the foods that go to the right of that red line as well. So in the first one, in the first category to the right is avocado. And avocados are wonderful and they're a healthy food. They are about 300 calories for an average avocado and about 30 grams of fat. And a serving of an avocado is 1/5. Have you ever been able to cut open an avocado and eat 1/5 of an avocado? Well, I can say that my granddaughter does that, but I don't know that I have the ability to do that at home. I don't generally eat avocado at home, but when we eat out, I'll have some because it's in a controlled setting and I'm getting a small quantity, maybe on a salad or on some tacos at a vegan restaurant. So it's very calorically dense compared to the other foods. It is a very healthy food. But if you are trying to lose weight, it's a good idea to just not have avocado for a while and see if that makes a difference for you. So Dr. Olivera, Chef AJ has interviewed her about fat and women trying to lose weight. And I highly recommend that you look up those 2 videos that she did with Chef AJ, because she talks all about how women who have yo-yo dieted have to eat about 25% fewer calories in order to maintain their weight compared to someone else who's the same age, same height, and same weight who has never yo-yo dieted. So, and I know for me that that is very true. And so I really limit the higher fat foods and the higher calorie density foods, because now that I'm a smaller size, I actually need fewer calories just to do my basic things every day. And so I don't have room in my calories, my daily calories, for a lot of high fat foods, because 1/5 of this, or I could have, you know, a large quantity of fruits or vegetables. And I would rather have the larger quantity of food because I find it more satisfying. So avocado is healthy, yes. If you can eat it and still lose weight, more power to you. That's great. And if you can eat it and maintain your weight, and I know a lot of people can, and Tom's one of those people, that's fantastic. And I say, you know, go for it. So that's avocado. The next category is the 1200 to 1800 calorie density, and that is refined complex carbohydrates. And in that category, we're going to have ice cream, and that is vegan ice cream or regular ice cream. That is, we're not talking about the homemade in the Vitamix or your Yonanas. We're talking about the purchased, processed, that's full of unhealthy ingredients, and it's just too calorically dense to eat if you're trying to lose weight, or for some of us who are trying to maintain our weight. So that's at 1200 calories. The 14 to 1500 calories per pound is bread and flour products. Now, first of all, when you take a whole grain, let's say like oat groats, and you process it and turn it into a flour, you completely change the caloric density of it, and it increases substantially. It also has a much bigger impact on your brain and on the dopamine hit that you get when you eat something that's highly processed. And then it hijacks your brain, and your brain says, oh, that was really good. Let's have more of that because I got a real big dopamine hit from that and I want more. That's where it comes into play of having difficulty eating certain foods in moderation. And I know for myself that that is very true. It's very hard for me to moderate things that are made with flour. Plus, bread has usually a very high sodium content, and a lot of times it has oil added to it. which helps increases the calorie density of it. So if you're trying to lose weight, if you're having difficulty, you might want to avoid bread and flour products. At 1,600 calories per pound is cheese. Now, if you're watching me, you probably are not eating the standard American diet and you're probably not eating cheese. But when you look at the packages of the vegan cheese and see what's in those and what the fat content is, you can calculate how much calories per pound the cheese is. And guess what? It's going to be right up there, right with the dairy cheese, because they usually add a lot of oil, or they're using cashews or almonds to make the cheese, and it also has a lot of sodium in it. Then at 1,800 calories in the refined carbohydrates, we have sugar. So, they'll take something that's super healthy like beets, but they'll take and process it and turn it into a processed sugar, beet sugar, and they've taken out all the fiber and all the water, and then all you're left with is calories and no nutrition. So we also avoid processed sugar. Again, if you want something sweet, go for the fruit, because the fruit has all the fiber and the water intact, and it's going to fill you up. It's not going to fill you out, and it's not going to make you crave eating more and more and more. So, the next category is 2,500 calories per pound, and it's a favorite item of a lot of women, but some men too, and that happens to be chocolate. And so the problem with chocolate is that it is usually served up with sugar and fat. And that combo, is something that people really love and they crave, and it's just really not friendly for losing weight. So if you want to have the flavor, you can make my brownies, which use a little bit of cacao powder, and I use dates to sweeten them. And so with the dates, although they are very high calorie, they at least have the fiber and the water and all the nutrients intact. So chocolate is not great for weight loss, and it's not great for some of us for maintenance either. But you have to know yourself and know what your limits are. Then the next category is 2,800 calories, and that involves nuts, seeds, nut butters, and tahini. So those are 2,800 calories per pound. And the problem with those, if you can eat a small amount and keep it in control, that's great. But some of us find that those high-fat foods are a trigger food. And so it makes us want to eat more. And so for a lot of people, it's difficult to have peanut butter or almond butter in the house, or almonds. Mm-hmm. And we'll talk about that later. Tom will tell you about his almond story. And so that is not a good food for most people for weight loss. And for some of us, it's not good for maintenance. If you have trouble moderating how much of them that you're going to eat, because we're hardwired to seek out the highest calorie density food in our environment for the least amount of effort. That you'll learn about in the Pleasure Trap book. And so that's why some people say if they have ice cream in the house, that they just feel like the ice cream's calling them all the time, even if it's vegan ice cream. And that's because your brain wants you to get that high calorie food, because it thinks that we're still in a time of famine, and that at any moment, you might run out of food. And so you should stock up now, for the future, in case you can't get some food in a couple of weeks. Well, we don't have that problem. We have the opposite problem, because we have food available everywhere we go, and most of it is not healthy food. So, and then the last calorie category is 4,000 calories per pound, and that happens to be oil. All oils, even coconut oil, even extra virgin olive oil, all oils are 4,000 calories per pound. And we also know that they're not healthy for our heart. They damage the endothelial cells. There's lots of information in the plant-based community about that. You can just go on YouTube and Google Dr. Esselstyn and oil, and you'll find some wonderful videos that he has made talking about why we want to avoid oil. And I also want to say we also, even though we're plant eaters and coconut oil is a plant, it is saturated fat. And that's not good for people like me who have issues with their LDL cholesterol. So that is pretty much the basics about calorie density. And here's what I want you to think about. So remember that Barbara Rolls says that we eat between 3 and 5 pounds of food a day on average. So let's say that I eat 3 pounds of food a day. And let's say that I'm eating some things from the right of the red line. And so my average calories per pound that I'm consuming is about 2,000 calories per pound because I'm eating a lot of nut butters or nuts. And I'm eating 3 pounds of food a day. And so then if my average of what I'm eating is 2,000 calories per pound, then I'm consuming about 6,000 calories a day. Well, at my height and my weight, I cannot consume that. I would have to be like running all day, and I still wouldn't be able to burn off that many.
You could achieve a pound and a half of weight gain per day doing that.
Yes.
Since your body burns 1,500, and then you'd have a surplus left.
That's
over.
right. So, and there, if you go online, if you Google how to determine what your basic caloric intake for the day should be, if you're just doing nothing, there are some calculators online that are free to use where you can plug in your height, age, and weight, and it will tell you that if you did nothing, if you just stayed in bed all day, what the minimum requirement of calories would be for you. So I only need about 1,800 calories per day. And so if I'm eating 3 pounds of food, then I need to be at the 600 or under calorie density per pound foods in order to maintain my weight. So, and I think once I learned that, then the light bulb went off for me and I was like, oh my gosh, that makes so much sense.
The light bulb went on.
I mean, on. Yeah, that light bulb went on.
Your light bulb's still on, sweetie.
I hope it is.
You want me to check your light bulb?
Will you check my light bulb? The light bulb went on
Make
for
sure
me.
it's all the way screwed into the socket.
Yeah,
Okay.
the light bulb went on for me and I was like, oh my gosh, that makes so much sense. And so I'm very happy being able to eat all of these foods and to be able to have 3 to 4 pounds of food a day, because that's what makes me not feel deprived. Because I think when people think about losing weight, they don't want the deprivation because they don't want to feel hungry. They don't want to sit down to a tiny little plate of food. And we also, I never want to have to weigh and measure my food again. I did Weight Watchers and Jenny Craig, and I did all of those diets. And I was obsessed about food all the time.
You don't want to know how many points that peach is worth there?
I don't even care. I just know that I could eat, if I want it, I can eat it.
Okay.
And that is just so freeing. Think about if you're eating 3 to 5 pounds of food a day, think about which categories most of your calories are coming from. And you could actually calculate what your calorie density average is for the day. And if you are stuck, not able to lose weight right now, what Dr. Barbara Rolls says, what Dr. Goldhammer from True North Health Center, what Dr. Lisle say is eat more non-starchy vegetables. So and Dr. McDougall says, make half of your plate non-starchy vegetables, then the other half can be fruit and starch. And if you do that, you will lose weight. And the way that we eat to lose weight is also the way that most of us need to eat in order to maintain our weight. People ask me all the time, once you lost your weight, did you start adding more food back in? No, because I weigh less. I need less calories at my lower weight. So the way I make up for that deficit is I eat a lot of low calorie density foods because they fill me up. They taste amazing. I mean, look at the beautiful color that we have here. And I don't feel deprived, and I never go hungry. I never go hungry. So, and I love that. So now I want to talk to you about how the foods that we choose make us feel full or not. So here's a little more information that kind of goes with the calorie density. So our stomach holds about a liter of food. Now this is a 1 quart jar, and a liter is about 4.22 cups of food. So about what would fill to the top of this jar plus about another quarter of a cup is the capacity that the average stomach has. So think about that. This is what we're trying to fill. Now, what Barbara Rolls discovered is that we need to activate the stretch receptors in our stomach when we eat in order for the signal to go to the brain to tell us, oh, we've had enough food. Our stomach is full. And so when you don't eat enough volume to do that, you keep eating because your brain isn't getting the signal. Even if you've had, let's say, 400 calories of a nut butter, this little tiny bit is 400 calories of nut butter. This is not going to activate the stretch receptors in your stomach to tell you that you're full, even though you have consumed 400 calories. And I'm going to say about 36, 38 grams of fat in this. That's a lot. However, if I eat 400 calories of potatoes, it's going to activate my stretch receptors and I'm going to feel full. You see that? Versus this. So I just think, you know, the visual is like, what? This is 400 calories of maple syrup. Innocent, we think it's healthy. Maybe you're going to make a salad dressing.
We have maple syrup here somewhere?
We did. We did. For Sweet Pea, her pancakes. She gets a little drizzle.
Not for me.
Not for you. He didn't. He was like, we have maple syrup. Where do you keep it? Well, it's in the garage fridge for a reason, because we don't use it very often. But that's 400 calories. Is that going to fill you up? And we know Barbara Rold says it doesn't matter the fat content or the calorie count. It is how much water, how much fiber, and how much volume does it take up in our stomach. So you might think, well, I'm just going to, you know, have a little bit of it. Well, your body doesn't even register that you had that 400 calories. Let me see. What do I want to show you now? This is 400 calories of almonds. Same thing. That's 400 calories. Easy to eat that or double that. Very easy to eat 800 to 1200 calories of almonds in a sitting. And this is not going to activate the stretch receptors.
And
but
that's why I actually had Tami stop buying these. Well, I was buying them at Costco in the big bag because I would eat them, I guess I would say like popcorn. Mm-hmm. And I would probably eat twice that many in a sitting while we were watching a movie. Maybe 3 times if I was eating unconsciously. So yeah, I was getting an extra bonus 1,000 calories a day of unconscious almonds. So
which resulted in?
So I 10 pounds of weight gain over the course of like 3 or 4 months. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So instead of unconscious calories, I now make a conscious choice to not buy them
That's right.
while we're at Costco.
Or you can have 400 calories of Japanese sweet potatoes, which would really fill up your stomach and make you full. And these are much healthier than these as well. Nothing wrong with almonds. They are healthy, but they're very high fat. Now, it's kind of controversial, but Dr. McDougall says the fat you eat is the fat you wear. That's not true for everyone. We're all different. It is definitely true for me. Now, here's one for you. This is 400 calories of golden raisins. Here is 400 calories of grapes. I couldn't even get all 400 calories of grapes. There was about 20 of them that I couldn't even get in the jar. So which one is going to make you feel fuller? You know, absolutely, we're going to go for the grapes rather than the raisins. The thing with the raisins is, although they do still have the fiber, the water is gone. So when you dehydrate foods, you increase the calorie density substantially. Look at the difference. Plus there'd be 20 more of them if I had all of them, all 400 calories here. So that makes a huge difference. I would much rather have a big bowl of grapes than a small amount of dried fruit. Now here's 400 calories of garbanzo beans. That combined with some vegetables, which I have these often on my salads, is going to make you very full. This is 400 calories of brown rice. This is short grain organic brown rice, and it's about 2 cups. That added with some vegetables is going to make you very full. Or you could pour soup over it, which would reduce the calorie density even more, because you probably wouldn't want 2 cups with your broth-based soup. And then this is 400 calories worth of rolled oats. Now the thing about rolled oats is they are a healthy grain. They don't have as much, they're not intact as much as the oat groats. But the great thing about them is if you cook them with water, they're going to expand and you're going to have a bigger volume of them, which is going to help to activate your stretch receptors in your stomach and make you full. So when we take something that's dried and we cook it, like our beans, our lentils, or our grains, and we cook them in water and allow them to absorb the water, then we know that they are going to be more satiating and they're going to activate those stretch receptors. Now the thing about oats is to remember that about 20% of the calories come from fat with oats. If you don't know about that, look, if you buy them in a package that has nutritional information, look at that. So if you're trying to lose weight, for some people, oats can be a trigger to eat more because they have a little bit higher fat content. So just be cautious about that. And if it seems like they're a trigger for you to consume more, then maybe try having something else for a while instead of the oats. It can make a difference for some people. And then the apples. I could not fit the apples, of course, in a jar. But here is 400 calories worth of apples. And, you know, super filling because we have the water and the fiber is all intact, and we're going to have to chew those. And then I just want to show you a little thing that I heard Dr. Barbara Rolls talk about. Here's that little bit of 400 calories right there. I heard her talk about this. She was talking about an experiment that they did in the laboratory at Penn State. So they cooked dinner for people, but before they gave them dinner, they had some people eat an apple. They had some people drink some apple juice, and they had some people eat some applesauce. Well, they made their own applesauce from the same type of apples that they had people just take an apple and eat. And here's what happened. The people who drank the juice It had no effect on their appetite, and they ate the same amount of food. When they ate an apple before they had dinner, they ate 20% fewer calories because the apple was full of water and fiber and started to fill up their stomachs. When they ate the applesauce, which was still good, it's just, you know, applesauce, you still get some of the fiber, it's broken down for you, but you have removed a lot of the water. When they ate the applesauce, they ate slightly less, but not a measurable amount. And so eat the whole food, because the whole food has the fiber and the water, and they know for sure that it makes a big impact on how many
The net
calories.
effect was the apple had minus calories, negative calorie impact on the eating habit.
Well, pretty much. She didn't say that though. So she didn't say that. She just said that they ate about 20% fewer calories when they ate an apple before they had their dinner. So, so I think that's remarkable too. Then I wanted to show you that this is 1 pound of food. This is, I could eat all of this for 100 calories. I could eat this because the greens, it takes a lot of greens to make a pound of food. A lot of greens. So, or you could, this is 400 calories here. So you could have all of this, or you could have this little bit of almonds. And what is going to make you more full? I mean, there is no way that I could eat all of this at one sitting. It would just be ridiculous to be able to do that. Oh, and I was going to show you this. So this is something that I do. I will every 4 days or so, I will just take a whole bunch of vegetables like in this bowl or this bowl, and I will just water saute them. I always start with an onion and some fresh mushrooms. And once those start to get nicely sauteed, and if you don't have the fire up too hot to begin with, they will release their water and you won't even have to add any water to them. And I'll get those really cooking nicely, and then I'll add some carrots and some broccoli, slaw, and spinach, and whatever I have. Bell peppers this time. I did have carrots. I had zucchini and yellow squash, and I had the sugar snap peas. And then I buy the power greens at Costco, and I'll throw those in, and then I'll put the lid on it and let it create its own steam so that it steams the greens. And I make sure that I don't cook them to the point that everything's limp. I still want everything to be a little bit al dente. Did you hear that? So I just don't want everything to be overcooked. And then I divide it up into these little containers. And I'll do about 4 pounds of veggies in my big scan pan, and then I'll divide them up into 4 different containers. So I know I started with about 1 pound for each container. And then this makes a wonderful breakfast. You can have this for breakfast, and then you can add some starch to it if you want to. And it also makes a wonderful side dish with my dinner, and it's just nice way to get in more non-starchy vegetables. And so we're going to talk about sequencing our food, and the way we want to sequence our food when we eat is we want to start with the non-starchy vegetables first. So something like this. The lowest calorie density foods first, because these still have water, they're full of fiber. They're going to activate my stretch receptors in my stomach, and they're going to help me feel full. And I'm going to eat that before I go for the Japanese sweet potato or the Yukon Golds, or what happened to the rice? Did you take my rice?
Was I not supposed to?
Oh, here it is. You didn't take it. Or the rice, because these are higher calorie density foods. So if I'm trying to lose weight, I'm wanting to eat more of the non-starchy vegetables. Start with those first, because if I start eating the rice first, or I start with the potatoes first, I am not going to go back and eat all of those vegetables, because my brain is going to say, oh, that's good, keep eating that. That's really good. And so you want to start with the lowest calorie density foods first and then build up. Barbara Rold said that they also discovered that if people started their meal with like a brothy soup, they ended up eating less overall calories for the meal. And so remember that. Eat your lower calorie density foods first, and then go for the higher calorie density foods. So Tom and I discovered that that was really important when we got our air fryer. When we first got it, I was making French fries like every day because, oh man, they were so good. So I would take our cold Yukon Gold baked potatoes that I would batch cook, and I would cut them into fries, and I would air fry them. And you know, it makes a big tray, so I would just fill the tray, and we would sit down and we would start eating those, and we would eat them all gone before we would eat anything else on our plate because they were so good. Well, pretty soon my pants were getting tight, and I got on the scale and I had gained 5 pounds. And so I was talking to Chef AJ, and I was like, I have gained 5 pounds. And she says, well, what are you doing? And we got to talking. I was like, oh, we're making French fries in our air fryer. And she was like, and how many are you eating? And I said, oh, well, we're eating I'm making a whole tray of them. And she said, no. You take however many ounces of potatoes, let's say, that you would normally eat at a meal, and you make that amount into fries, and you start eating your low calorie density foods first, and you save the fries for last. And so the next time that I made fries, we both did that. We sat down and we ate the salad. We had salad and vegetables first. We ate that first, and we did not have enough room then to eat all of the French fries that I made. So it really works. We've put it to the test, and yes, I did lose the 5 pounds by sequencing how I was eating. And I knew that. I just needed to be reminded. So the dehydrator is great. The air fryer is great. But just know that when you take the water out of the food, even though the fiber is still there, you are upping the calorie density of it. And so you need to be cautious with that. We still use our air fryer all the time. I air fry a Japanese sweet potato for my lunch usually every day. And I don't gain weight from it because I only air fry the size that I normally would eat. So that also has made a really big difference. So try to make that plate of yours be half non-starchy vegetables. Eat the non-starchy vegetables first, and then move on to the higher calorie density food, whether it's your beans, your grains, your potatoes, your fruit. Okay. I just wish somebody would have told me about this years ago, because once I learned it, it made so much sense. And I realized, oh my gosh, it's really simple. I'm not saying that it's easy to incorporate all of this. It takes time to do it, but the concept is very simple. Eat low calorie density foods first. I'm Tami.
And I'm Tom.
And we help you
Get
healthy and stay healthy, one meal at a time.
Bye-bye.
Bye, you guys.